The galaxy had always been a dangerous place, full of hidden threats and endless mysteries. Entire civilizations rose and fell in the blink of a star's lifetime. Yet, even among the vast stars, no one had expected humans to rise like a sudden storm. Far beyond the core systems in the Xeran sector, alarm sirens blared across the main planets. Holomaps lit up, showing entire colonies engulfed in fire and smoke. The Xerans were an advanced species, with cities that floated above the ground and fleets that could warp between stars. But none of their technology could stop the Varkari swarm. The Varkari were relentless. They moved like a tide of living metal, ships that seemed alive, controlled by a single, cruel intelligence. Systems fell one after another. Civilization after civilization disappeared, leaving nothing behind but silence. Now the Xerans sent a distress signal to the Galactic Council, their voices desperate. "This is urgent," one Xeran commander shouted. "We will not survive another day without help. The Varkari will consume everything." Across the galaxy, alien species received the message. Panic spread like wildfire. Leaders argued. Some claimed they should send fleets, others feared the Varkari would strike at them next. Among the chaos, humans sat quietly in their council chambers, watching the stars. The United Nations Space Command, Earth's leading authority, had received the Xeran signal. Most species saw humans as primitive, simple, disorganized, slow to react. But humans had a way of surprising others. They had spent decades preparing in secret, quietly building ships unlike any other in the galaxy. Ships that were fast, clever, and deadly. Admiral Cassandra Hale leaned over the hollow table, studying the map. "The Xerans are losing their worlds. If we wait, there will be nothing left to save." Her deputy, Lieutenant Aaron Malik, frowned. "Admiral, we're talking about a fleet beyond anything we've ever faced. The Varkari, they are merciless." Cassandra smiled faintly. "That's exactly why we go. They may be merciless, but they've never fought humans." Earth's fleet assembled quietly, almost like shadows moving through the darkness. Each ship had advanced AI, stealth systems, and adaptive weapons. Engineers had tested them in simulations hundreds of times. Now they were ready for a real battle. As the fleet departed, the stars blurred past them, streaking like lines of light. For some of the young crew members, it was their first voyage into unknown space. They could feel excitement mixed with fear. But humans thrived on challenges. Days passed in silence, broken only by the occasional calm from Earth. Then, without warning, a Varkari scout appeared ahead. It was faster than anything humans had seen in the simulations. Its hull shimmered with a strange energy, and its weapons glowed like molten metal. The alien scouts expected an easy attack. They assumed the humans were weak, slow, and predictable. But humans were clever. Admiral Hale issued a single command. The fleet split into smaller groups, weaving through a nearby asteroid belt. The Varkari ship fired its first energy beam. It struck an asteroid, shattering it into millions of fragments. The humans used the debris as cover, moving like shadows between the rocks. With a sudden burst, human ships struck from unexpected angles, targeting the scouts' weak points. A brilliant explosion lit the darkness. The scout ship disintegrated into shards of metal, and the humans continued on their course. No other species had ever fought like this. Humans didn't rely on brute force alone. They used intelligence, speed, and creativity. Meanwhile, across the Xeran sector, survivors watched in disbelief. Are those humans?" a Xeran commander whispered. "They're different." The humans arrived at the first Xeran system under siege. Planets burned. Shields flickered. Civilians ran through crumbling cities. Varkari ships circled like predators, destroying everything in their path. "Prepare for engagement," Admiral Hale said. "We're not here to negotiate. We're here to save lives, and to teach these monsters a lesson." The human fleet struck like lightning. Small, fast ships darted between the Varkari capital ships, using clever decoys and automated drones to confuse the enemy. Larger human vessels fired with pinpoint accuracy, disabling the enemy weapons without destroying the planets below. One of the young pilots, Ensign Myra Lee, had never seen real battle before. She maneuvered her craft through a narrow canyon of broken satellites, dodging energy blasts. Her heart pounded, but she remembered her training. Calculating every move, she fired her micromissiles and watched as a Valkyrie destroyer's engines exploded in a bright flash. Around her, humans were everywhere, each one doing what seemed impossible. The aliens' formations collapsed under pressure they had never expected. In every corner of the battlefield, humans adapted, changed tactics mid-battle, and found new ways to fight. From the surface of the burning planet, Xiran leaders observed, jaws open. "They are extraordinary," one whispered. "They fight like nothing we have ever known." But even as humans won small victories, danger loomed. The Valkyrie would not stay idle. Larger fleets were on the way, bringing even greater numbers. Humans knew they could not simply win by force. They would have to outthink their enemy at every turn. That night, in the command ship's bridge, Admiral Hale stared at the star maps. "This is only the beginning," she said quietly. "The galaxy thinks humans are weak. They are wrong. Soon, they will learn what we can do." Her crew listened in silence. For the first time, some began to understand what it meant to be human in a galaxy full of gods and monsters. Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. But they were smart, daring, and relentless. And in the darkness of space, where countless civilizations had fallen before, the first spark of humanity's legend began to shine. A sudden alert flashed on the hollow display. Another Valkyrie fleet was approaching, larger than anything the humans had faced so far. The bridge went silent. Tension hung heavy in the air. Lieutenant Malik looked at Hale. "Admiral, they're coming. There's no way we can match them head-on." Hale's eyes narrowed, calm but fierce. "We won't match them head-on. We'll outsmart them. That's what humans do best." As the human fleet prepared for the coming storm, Xiran civilians began to evacuate with human assistance. The aliens had never seen such organization under pressure. Every human knew their role, every action mattered. Humans were a force unlike any other. And so, under the burning stars of a dying system, humanity made its first stand. Not with brute strength alone, but with courage, creativity, and relentless determination. The galaxy had never seen anything like it, and it would never forget. The first part of the battle was over, but the war was only beginning. Far beyond the horizon, the Valkyrie swarm waited, hungry for conquest. They did not yet understand that a new predator had entered the galaxy, a predator with no fear, no limits, and a mind sharper than the deadliest weapons. Humans were coming. And the galaxy would never be the same. The stars outside the viewport of the command ship were calm, deceptively quiet, as if the galaxy itself held its breath. Inside the bridge, tension was thick. Admiral Cassandra Hale studied the approaching Valkyrie fleet, its dark shapes looming like a swarm of living nightmares. Their numbers were staggering, hundreds of ships, some larger than entire human starports, each bristling with weapons that could annihilate planets in minutes. Lieutenant Aaron Malik leaned over the holomap, voice tense. "Admiral, if we fight them head-on, we'll be destroyed. There's no way we can match those numbers." Hale's eyes gleamed with determination. "We won't match them head-on, Aaron. We'll turn this battle into something they never expected. That's what humans do." She tapped a command, and the fleet began shifting positions, breaking formation in ways that seemed chaotic but were carefully calculated. Humans were not strong like the Valkyrie. They were fast, clever, unpredictable. Their advantage was strategy, not brute force. The first engagement began near the Xiran homeworld, a planet already scarred from previous attacks. From orbit, humans saw the destruction, cities reduced to ash, smoke rising in columns like mournful fingers. Civilians were fleeing toward emergency spaceports. Varkari fighters tore through the sky, their energy weapons melting structures as easily as paper. Ensign Myra Lee gripped her controls tightly as her small human fighter darted through the chaos. Her sensors lit up with enemy contacts. She exhaled sharply, remembering her training. Humans didn't panic, they adapted. The Varkari believed humans were fragile, slow, and predictable. They had underestimated the species for centuries. Now, that mistake would cost them. Hale's fleet used the planet itself as part of their strategy. Asteroid fields, broken satellites, and even the ruined cityscapes became cover for swift human ships. Drones flew ahead, drawing enemy fire, creating openings for precision strikes. Myra's fighter shot past a Varkari destroyer, releasing a decoy that emitted false signals. The enemy ship, thinking it had targeted the human, fired wildly, destroying a nearby fleet of its own smaller vessels by accident. "Got one," Myra shouted over the comm. Her excitement was mirrored across the human fleet. Each victory, no matter how small, showed that humans did not fight like anyone else. Meanwhile, on the command bridge, Hale directed the fleet like a chess master moving pieces. She saw an opening. 3 massive Varkari dreadnoughts were overextended, chasing human frigates that seemed too fast to catch. "Divert all energy to the swarm attack drones," she ordered. "Target the lead dreadnought. Hit its engines." Within moments, the drones swarmed like a cloud of stinging insects, striking the dreadnought simultaneously from all angles. The massive ship shook violently as energy shields flickered and failed. A brilliant explosion lit the dark of space as the dreadnought's engines ignited and tore the ship apart. Across the battlefield, other humans followed the same principle: outsmart, outmaneuver, improvise. The Varkari had never faced an enemy who could think so quickly under pressure. Every human ship seemed to anticipate the enemy's next move, exploiting weaknesses that no alien strategist had considered. On the surface of the Xeran planet, leaders and civilians watched in awe. Holo displays tracked the human fleet. Ships that should have been overwhelmed were winning against impossible odds. The Xerans whispered among themselves, unable to hide their amazement. They are incredible," one elder said, voice trembling. "We thought humans were primitive, but look at them. They are more cunning than we could imagine." Back in the sky, the battle intensified. The Varkari had begun to realize humans were different. They tightened formations, coordinated attacks more carefully, but every attempt to corner the humans failed. Each human pilot moved unpredictably, exploiting openings with precision. Myra Lee and her squadron found themselves facing a cluster of Varkari fighters. They were outnumbered 3-1. Myra's heart raced, but she remembered her training. Humans do not panic, humans do not give up. "Follow my lead," she said to her squadron, voice steady. "Split left, then circle around. Draw them in." The maneuver worked perfectly. The Varkari fighters pursued them into a trap. Hidden human ships emerged from the shadows, striking the enemy from multiple angles. One by one, the Varkari fighters were destroyed, leaving the humans intact. The human fleet wasn't just fighting, they were teaching the galaxy a lesson. Every move, every strategy was a statement. Humans were not to be underestimated. Admiral Hale's voice came over the comm, calm but firm. "Focus on the lead ships. Disable their weapons, not the hull. Protect the planet at all costs." As the humans struck again and again, the tide began to turn. Varkari dreadnoughts were falling faster than they could be replaced. Alien observers, hidden in distant sectors, could hardly believe what they were seeing. They are rewriting the rules of war," one alien admiral muttered. "No species could fight like this. It's terrifying." But even as humans gained the upper hand, danger was far from over. A massive Varkari command ship appeared, larger and deadlier than anything seen before. Its energy signature was unlike anything the humans had encountered. "This is it," Hale said. eyes locked on the ship. "The main threat. We take it down and the rest will scatter. Fail and we lose everything." The fleet adjusted. Human engineers and AI systems worked in perfect synchrony, predicting the enemy's moves before they even happened. Drones were deployed, energy fields redirected, and precision attacks aimed at the ship's most vulnerable points. Ensign Lee flew closer, heart pounding. "We can do this," she whispered to herself. "We have to." The Varkari command ship fired its first blast, massive beams of energy sweeping across the battlefield. Human ships dodged with unbelievable speed, some barely escaping destruction. Then, like a lightning strike, human swarm drones appeared, striking weak points that even the Varkari hadn't considered. Explosions rippled across the command ship's hull. It staggered, its systems failing one by one. Human precision attacks continued relentlessly. The Varkari swarm was faltering. Panic spread through their ranks. Back on the planet, Ziran civilians cheered as human ships destroyed enemy vessels with cunning precision. They began to understand that humans were not just fighters, they were strategists, fearless and intelligent. Admiral Hale addressed the fleet over the comm. "We've done well, but remember this is only the beginning. The Varkari will not give up easily. Stay alert. Adapt. Survive, and remember we are humans. No one else fights like us." Her words inspired every pilot, every engineer, every crew member. They were more than soldiers, they were legends in the making. As the battle drew to a temporary close, human ships regrouped. They had saved the planet and forced the Varkari to retreat, but the fight was far from over. Hale knew that greater fleets awaited them deeper in the Ziran sector, and the Varkari command would not tolerate this humiliation. "Prepare for the next wave," Hale said, calm but firm. "They will return stronger, but so will we. Humanity has a way of surviving and winning against impossible odds." Ensign Lee looked at the stars beyond the viewport, feeling a surge of pride. "We did it," she whispered. "We really did it." "Yes," Hale said softly, "and the galaxy will remember this. Humans are not weak. Humans are unstoppable when they fight with courage, intelligence, and heart." The night passed with humans maintaining orbit and helping civilians evacuate. Reports came in from across the system. Other human fleets had arrived, preventing further destruction. Word would spread quickly across the galaxy. Humans were not only capable of fighting Varkari, they were a force unlike any other. Somewhere in the shadows, distant alien observers communicated in alarm. "We underestimated them," one said. "We never knew they were capable of this. We must warn others." But the humans did not wait for recognition. They had a mission: protect, survive, and outthink an enemy that thought it was unbeatable. And in the dark void of space, the first true lesson had been taught. The Varkari had encountered a species that refused to surrender, refused to be predictable, and refused to be weak. Humans had turned the tide, but the war was far from over. Beyond the next star cluster, the Varkari swarm waited, stronger, faster, and hungrier than before. Humans would face them again, and when they did, the galaxy would begin to understand the full extent of human power. For now, the first victory belonged to the humans, and in every corner of the Ziran sector the story spread: the humans are coming. And they fight like nothing else in the galaxy. The void of space was silent, except for the faint hum of human ships moving in perfect coordination. Stars streaked past as the fleet advanced deeper into Ziran territory, chasing the remnants of the retreating Varkari forces. Reports from scouts were troubling. The Varkari were regrouping, larger fleets were converging, and a command signal hinted at a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Cassandra Hale stood on the bridge of the flagship Resolute, her gaze fixed on the holographic display. It projected the Varkari positions and the approaching superweapon, a massive structure, bristling with weapons, and surrounded by swarms of smaller ships. Its energy signature was immense, a searing glow that could melt entire planets. "This is it," Hale said, voice calm, commanding. "This is the true test of the human fleet. Prepare for engagement." Lieutenant Aaron Malik leaned over the table, frowning. "Admiral, if that weapon fires at full power, it could destroy the entire sector. Even our fleet might not survive." Hale's eyes narrowed. "Then we fight smarter than they do. That's what humans are best at." As the fleet approached the Varkari superweapon, enemy scouts noticed them first. Hundreds of small, sleek ships darted toward the humans, energy weapons blazing. The humans had anticipated this. With split-second timing, swarms of human drones launched from each ship, creating illusions and decoys that confused the Varkari sensors. Ensign Myra Lee piloted her fighter along the edge of the battlefield, dodging blasts and weaving through the debris of destroyed enemy vessels. "They'll never see this coming," she muttered, activating a small device that emitted false signals mimicking the human fleet's formation. Several Varkari ships collided with each other, unable to distinguish real targets from decoys. Around her, the human fleet moved like a single organism, each ship knowing its role, each crew member synchronized in thought and action. The Varkari had never seen anything like it. For the first time, an enemy fleet could anticipate their moves, counter them, and strike back with precision they could not comprehend. The first wave of human ships attacked the smaller Varkari vessels surrounding the superweapon. Swarms of automated fighters darted in and out, striking weak points, then vanishing before the enemy could retaliate. Human frigates fired energy pulses that disabled the weapons of multiple Varkari ships at once. Hale's flagship moved closer to the superweapon, keeping a careful distance to avoid its main cannons. The human fleet was strong, but one direct hit could destroy half of them. Yet humans did not rely solely on firepower. They relied on ingenuity. "Target the energy nodes on the superweapon's dorsal array," Hale ordered. "If we can take out its power distribution, the main cannon will be useless." The fleet adjusted formation, sending specialized attack ships to strike precisely. Myra watched her sensors as one of the attack teams executed the maneuver perfectly, dodging enemy fire and hitting the nodes. Sparks and explosions rippled across the weapon's surface. The Varkari command vessel screamed in alarm. "This is impossible," a Varkari commander shouted over the comm. "They should not be able to coordinate like this." Meanwhile, on the ground, Ziran survivors were guided by human teams to safety. Evacuations were organized with military precision. Medical units and engineers worked seamlessly, protecting civilians and repairing what could be saved. Even alien allies began to understand that humans were more than warriors. They were problem solvers, leaders, and innovators. In space, the battle intensified. A massive Varkari dreadnought broke through the front lines, firing massive energy beams. Myra Lee and her squadron dove to intercept it. Using clever maneuvers, they drew the dreadnought into a narrow asteroid field, forcing it to slow down and fire blindly. Hidden human ships fired concentrated volleys, striking its engines and weapons simultaneously. The ship erupted in flames, spinning out of control before being destroyed. "Nice work, Ensign Lee," Hale said over the comm. "Keep your eyes open. The main target is still out there." The humans knew the Varkari superweapon had a last-resort attack, a devastating energy wave that could wipe out entire fleets. Hale calculated the timing carefully. Every ship was in position, every crew member knew their role. The humans were about to unleash their most daring maneuver yet. "Initiate Phase 2, Hale commanded. "Strike Team Alpha move to the inner perimeter. Phase Beta prepare diversion patterns. Phase Gamma ready for direct assault." Human ships split into multiple coordinated groups, attacking from unexpected directions. The superweapon's defenses were strong, but humans used clever tactics, exploiting every weakness. Energy shields were redirected. Cloaked ships appeared where none should be, and decoy signals made the Varkari fleet uncertain of reality. Myra Lee's squadron raced toward the superweapon's core. Sensors showed multiple energy conduits feeding its main weapon. "We hit these and we stop it," Myra shouted. Her squadron weaved through a storm of energy blasts. They fired precisely at the conduits. One by one, sparks flew as systems failed. The superweapon shuddered violently. Its main cannon powered down, but victory came at a cost. One of the human ships in the strike team was hit, sending debris across the battlefield. Myra barely avoided collision, watching as her comrades were lost. She felt a pang of grief, but there was no time to mourn. Humanity had a mission, and failure was not an option. "Keep moving," Hale's voice cut through the calm. "We protect, we fight, we survive. That is what humans do." The Varkari command ship attempted to retreat, realizing their weapon was useless. But Hale anticipated this. The fleet split, cutting off escape routes, leaving no corner for the enemy to hide. Humans attacked relentlessly, striking with precision, courage, and relentless determination. Aboard the command ship, Hale watched the final moments unfold. One by one, the Varkari ships were destroyed or disabled. The superweapon, once a terrifying presence in the sector, lay in ruins, powerless. Humans had not only survived, they had dominated. Across the battlefield, the remaining Varkari fled in disarray, their ranks shattered, their morale broken. Humanity had proven something no other species had, that strategy, courage, and creativity could overcome even the deadliest force in the galaxy. On the bridge, crew members cheered quietly, not out of arrogance but relief. Ziran's survivors looked on in awe. They had witnessed the impossible. Humans had turned the tide of a battle they were expected to lose. Hale stood silently for a moment, staring at the stars. She knew this was just the beginning. The Varkari would regroup, other enemies would rise, and the galaxy would continue to be dangerous. But she also knew something profound. Humans had a power that no weapon could destroy, the ability to think, adapt, and fight like no other species. Lieutenant Malik approached her. "Admiral, they will never underestimate us again." Hale nodded. "No. And we won't forget this lesson ourselves. Humanity is not the underdog. Humanity is unstoppable." Far beyond the battlefield, in distant sectors of the galaxy, alien civilizations began to whisper about humans. They had seen what humans could do, not just fight, but survive and win against impossible odds. Stories would spread, rumors would become legend. Even the Zirans, who had once been hopeless, now saw humans in a new light. They offered alliances, resources, and friendship. Humans accepted, but on their own terms. They did not conquer, they inspired fear and respect through their deeds. And back in the stars, Hale's fleet regrouped, tending to the wounded, repairing ships, and preparing for the future. The Varkari superweapon had been destroyed, but humans knew the galaxy held other dangers waiting to challenge them. Ensign Myra Lee looked out at the endless stars, her voice soft. "We really did it. We beat them." "Yes," Hale replied, her eyes gleaming. "And the galaxy will never forget. Humans fight like no other. Humans adapt, survive, and conquer where others fail. This is our time." The deadliest human fleet had been unleashed. The Varkari had learned a painful lesson: never underestimate humanity. And the galaxy would remember that lesson forever. The galaxy had begun to change. Across distant star systems, whispers of humans spread like wildfire. "The humans are coming," alien leaders muttered in fear and awe. "They fight like nothing else in the galaxy. They adapt, they survive, they win." On the bridge of the flagship Resolute, Admiral Cassandra Hale surveyed the aftermath of the battle. The Varkari fleets had retreated in disarray, their superweapon destroyed. Yet she knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was still dangerous. Other enemies would rise, other wars would come. But for the first time, humans had shown what they could truly do. Lieutenant Aaron Malik leaned beside her, still catching his breath. "Admiral, we've done something the galaxy didn't expect. We've saved Xeran civilization. The rest of the sector will know humans are unstoppable. Hale nodded. Yes, but this isn't about showing off. It's about survival, courage, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. That is what makes humans strong. Across the Xeran homeworld, reconstruction had begun. Civilians emerged from shelters to see the human fleet standing guard above them. The human ships were battered but not broken. Engineers worked tirelessly, repairing weapons, shields, and life support systems. Every crew member knew that the next challenge could come at any moment. Among the civilians, Xeran leaders approached the humans with gratitude and awe. "Your species, it is unlike any we have seen," one elder said. "You arrived when hope was lost. You fought when we thought all was over. How can we ever repay you?" Hale shook her head. "You do not repay us. Humans fight because it is the right thing to do. We protect and we survive. That is enough." Even Xeran soldiers, once skeptical of humans, now stood in respect. They had seen humans fight not just with strength, but with ingenuity, courage, and unity. Humans had shown the galaxy that intelligence, adaptability, and daring could triumph over sheer power. Meanwhile, the remnants of the Varkari were regrouping far away. Their commanders were furious. They had underestimated humans, believing them to be weak, primitive, and predictable. Now they faced a species that had destroyed the deadliest weapon they possessed, outmaneuvered entire fleets, and saved a civilization from extinction. "This changes everything," one Varkari commander hissed. "No one expected humans to be this relentless. We must prepare for the next encounter." But humans were already moving forward. They did not wait for fear or recognition. They acted with purpose, guided by skill, courage, and foresight. Their fleet repaired, resupplied, and trained, ready for the next wave of threats. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, and word would spread to every corner. On the flagship bridge, Hale addressed her officers. "Our mission continues. We have proven ourselves here, but there are other systems at risk. We will offer assistance where it is needed, but we will do so on our own terms. The galaxy must respect humanity, not because we demand it, but because we earn it." Ensign Myra Lee listened, inspired. She had seen the fleet in action, had faced near-death countless times, and had watched humans adapt, survive, and conquer. She understood now that humans were not just fighters. They were problem solvers, leaders, and legends in the making. Lieutenant Malik asked, "Admiral, do you think the galaxy will ever see humans as equals?" Hale smiled faintly, her eyes steady. "They will see us as something more, something they cannot control or predict. We are humans. We fight when others flee, we think when others panic, and we survive when others fall." In the weeks that followed, humans assisted in rebuilding the Xeran systems. Their engineers repaired cities, their medics treated the wounded, and their diplomats offered counsel to stabilize governments. Humans did not claim power, they offered support, demonstrating strength without tyranny. Aliens across the galaxy began to take notice. Emissaries arrived from distant systems, seeking alliances. Humans received messages of gratitude, fear, and respect. Some species sent fleets to observe human tactics, hoping to learn, but none could match the combination of courage, intelligence, and adaptability that defined humans. Hale met with Xeran leaders in the capital city, which was being rebuilt from the ashes. "Your people are resilient," she said. "You will recover, and you will survive because you fight, think, and never give up. That is what humans respect." One Xeran elder nodded. "Your species is extraordinary. The galaxy will never be the same." Hale did not boast. She knew humans had more challenges ahead, but for now she allowed herself a small moment of pride. Far away, hidden observers recorded the events. Other civilizations, once dismissive of humans, now reconsidered. They had seen fleets destroyed, superweapons dismantled, and entire systems protected. Humans had proven that strength alone did not define power. Adaptability, courage, and determination could achieve the impossible. On Earth, news of the human fleet's victory spread quietly among the leaders and citizens. Humanity's place in the galaxy was changing. No longer would they be dismissed as primitive or weak. Humans had become a force that could not be ignored, respected, or feared, not because of arrogance but because of deeds. Back in space, Hale's fleet prepared to return home. Ships were repaired, supplies replenished, and crew members rested. The battle had tested every human skill, every ounce of courage and intelligence. They had faced the deadliest enemy and they had triumphed. Ensign Myra Lee stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. "It's incredible," she whispered. "We really did it. Humans, we really are something else." Hale approached her, standing silently beside the young pilot. "Yes," she said, "we are humans. We do not give up. We do not surrender. And when the galaxy sees that, they will understand why no one can ever predict what humans will do next." The fleet entered hyperspace, heading back to Earth. Xeran systems would rebuild, alien species would take note, and the galaxy would remember the story of the deadliest human fleet. Humans had arrived when hope was lost, fought when victory seemed impossible, and emerged not just as survivors, but as legends. Even the Varkari, plotting in the shadows, would remember. Their enemies had changed. Their assumptions about humans had been shattered, and when the next encounter came, they would think twice before underestimating humanity again. On Earth, children looked up at the stars, dreaming of the brave humans who had saved distant civilizations. Scientists studied the technology, engineers analyzed the tactics, and soldiers trained harder than ever. Humanity had grown not just in skill or strength but in reputation. Across the stars they were a force, clever, fearless, and unstoppable. Hale stood on the bridge of the Resolute looking out at the galaxy. "We fight for those who cannot fight," she said softly. "We survive, we protect, and we inspire. And one day the entire galaxy will understand the full extent of human power." Her crew stood silently, feeling the weight of their achievements. They had faced impossible odds, defied the deadliest enemy, and emerged victorious. They were humans, relentless, daring, and ingenious. And in the endless expanse of space, a message echoed across countless civilizations. Humans are here. Humans fight differently. Humans win when no one else can. The legend of the deadliest human fleet had begun. The galaxy would never forget.